In this video, we're going to be talking about 5 things that I wish I could have started doing earlier in life to succeed more. Let's just get started. The first one is meditation. This is something I only recently discovered, but I think if in any way I could have learned this when I was really young and also understood the value of it and then practiced it, I think it would have been greatly beneficial. I think for most people, though, they never learn how important it is, and on top of that, they don't ever do it. So it's one of those weird things, and I've done a lot of videos on why meditation is incredibly useful. But long story short, there's a lot of science in terms of the biology and psychology, but also, more importantly, a surprising amount of some of the most successful people in the world meditate. And we're talking a lot of Western people. So the second thing I think I would have done earlier is started reading the books that I read now. Not necessarily the dense business books or whatever, but more so just some of the wealth and motivation and success books like Think and Grow Rich or Secrets of the Millionaire Mind or just stuff like that. The issue though is, again, for any typical 10-year-old child, it's very tough for them to get convinced, let alone it's hard convincing some people in their 30 and 40 to start getting interested in self-development and actually improving themselves. So it's just a hypothetical thing. It's one of those things where it's like, is that even possible? And arguably, I don't think it is, unless you're someone like Warren Buffett who read every book in the stock market by the time he was like 12. It's very hard to do that. Arguably, if you have the best parents, they could start working on it, but even then, it's like if you're not interested in it, you can't force your child. So, whatever. Number 3, I think the third thing I would have started doing is reading books and watching videos and lectures and speeches on specific topics that cover success and psychology and biology and the science of it. So these would be books like Mindset, The Psychology of Success, which is incredibly eye-opening. And it just talks about how you think and what you believe can really affect your life outcomes, as well as books like The Happiness Advantage and The How of Happiness, which would have incredibly helped me in terms of just productivity and a bunch of other stuff. The How of Happiness also because I think it's epidemic that the world and our culture believes that success and happiness are interrelated, and that if you get fame and fortune and riches and wealth, you will be fulfilled and happy, which is far from the case. And I think that book really breaks it down, and I'm still very fortunate to have learned this stuff fairly early on. Fourth thing I would have done is study successful people and start that a lot earlier on through YouTube videos. I think YouTube videos are one of the big ones. I think the issue is really looking where to search. I do a lot of commencement speech interviews and lectures and TED Talks. Those are my go-tos. And I think those have been incredibly useful because when you just watch these speeches, you learn so much because a lot of these people, they've had 50 years of experience and they've been there and gone back and they've been paid $100,000 to do that commencement speech. So you're literally paying for a premium speech for free on YouTube. And so it's one of those little ways that I get ahead of other people. It's strange how people don't value that. I think it's just they don't know, or they're too busy doing unproductive stuff. A lot of them prefer Netflix. Anyhow, I learned a lot of incredible things from that, just as in the same way. J.K. Rowling, Conan O'Brien, a lot of people, Oprah Winfrey, they've done numerous commencement speeches, Ellen DeGeneres, and they've gotten the money and the fame, and you kind of learn certain things about what really matters and what doesn't. And I think you really learn some incredible points. And it's really condensed. I mean, it may not seem like it is because it's such a long speech, but when you really look at it, because it's a speech, they pinpoint just one point that they want to get across to the reader and just hammer that home. And I think you learn just one point is enough to really get ahead. And then the fifth thing I want to do, and I want to leave it, this is the fifth thing, not because it's the most important, but because it's the least important of the five, which is podcasts. Now, podcasts, I think I would have started earlier. Again, I would say up until the last couple of years, I didn't see any value in them. In fact, I thought the people who mentioned them, they were usually listening to like gamer podcasts and stuff that were really just unproductive and a waste of time. But I found a lot of use in podcasts recently because a lot of the best podcasts, they have the leverage to bring on some of the most influential and successful people in the world, from celebrities to actors to wealthy individuals and athletes and beyond those types of people, because again, those types of people, they could still be unsuccessful in my eyes, unhappy, unfulfilled, have psychological issues, be jaded by fame, all sorts of stuff. But when we're talking about a lot of other individuals who are just like, they have their life together and you could just learn so much. And the reason why I put it last is because, again, it can get a little bit fluffy because some of the stuff is just like, the advice may not be the best because it's just a millionaire, and millionaires are not perfect either. So having said that, though, I think the same thing kind of applies to everything I said, books, videos as well. So it's really choosing who the best person is to follow, and that's for another video. If you want to learn more about how to figure that out, search on my channel something like how to figure out if this is someone you should listen to. And a long story short, you want to look at their credibility, what you want to specifically solve, and then see if it's a great fit. So if you just want general wealth advice, that's very generic. But if you can narrow it down, let's say you're in the coffee business, why don't you read a book by the people behind Starbucks? Literally, there are books by the people who founded Starbucks and grew that from one store to a billion-dollar industry, rather than reading generic wealth advice. So that's one thing you could do. You can greater weight the importance for the relevancy and the success that person has achieved in the relevancy that you're trying to pursue, whether it's happiness or meditation or whatever else. So podcasts work really well, also because it's long form. Generally, the interviews last 30 minutes to an hour, whereas for YouTube, especially with a lot of the bigger channels, you get very short, bite-sized viral content that's about 4 minutes on average, and you can only do so much in that short amount of time. So thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.